Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Trades Toolbox from Shake and Speare. This week we're joined by Alex Liggett of the Vinyl Guys to talk all about branding and how you can make your company stand out against all of the other ones out there. It's a really good fun interview. Let's see. Hi Alex, how are you doing?
Hi Grant, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. So today we're going to be talking about how you can create an attractive brand for your trade, and whether that be using logos or van decals, however it might be. That's what we're here to talk about today. So first of all, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Alex Liggett. I'm the owner of the Vinyl Guys, and we design, print and install high quality custom print products. So everything from small stickers to banners, retail signage, vehicle graphics, any sort of product that you would want to put your company name on and use for promotional purposes.
The whole shebang, everything that you can do.
Yeah.
Excellent. And you've got some amazing bits of kit that we've seen on Twitter up in your digs.
Yeah, we've got two brand new Roland printers at the moment. I've run Roland printers for 4 years now. We've recently reinvested in new equipment, just really to sort of handle the amount of work that we had coming through.
Amazing. That's a really exciting time to see it sort of really expanding and growing up. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, you guys specialize in helping tradespeople brand themselves and sort of really bring their brand to life. And so, I mean, that must be really exciting, seeing them become almost, I guess, more like a credible company. You're actually pivotal in doing that.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes when people talk about branding and think about how to brand their business, they can think that it's maybe something that only bigger companies get involved in. And really, it can be something as simple as using consistent colours or fonts. Not everybody's got, big professionally designed flashy logos. It can be the sort of thing that we can come up with ourselves using equipment that we've already got. And what we do is we take those branding ideas or logos or whatever they've got and turn them into something that is quite impactful and eye-catching.
Yeah, I mean, some of the designs that we've seen online are seriously eye-catching. I mean, the one that comes to mind is the Wasp Company.
Yeah.
The giant wasps across the side of their vans. It was seriously impressive.
Yeah, they I still speak to the company that had that from us, and in fact, week after next, hopefully we're getting their next one done for them as well. That came from just a piece of high resolution stock imagery that we'd got that we'd never had cause to use. And when he first approached us, he originally wanted text on the side, just the name of the company. So what we tend to do with vehicle graphics is we'll do a design along the lines of what the customers originally asked for, and then we'll throw in a couple of our ideas, really, just to show them what can be achieved, because sometimes people don't realise either the vibrancy of colours or the size of the graphics or what we can actually achieve with their vehicle. And this was one of those things that we put together hoping that he'd go for. And when he saw it on the screen, obviously loved it, and we got to print it and bring it to life. The imagery was that good. You could see the hairs on the wasp's back, and he told me stories of sort of coming out the pub or coming out the shops, and there'd be kids stood next to it taking photos. So as far as like local recognition went, it was amazing for the company, because there was pictures all over Facebook of the van with the name in the background as well.
Yeah, it's a really impressive piece of work. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that came from just one quick piece of stock imagery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people may come to you with just a logo, or even a logo that they've designed for themselves, or got someone to design for them. In terms of getting like a really clear, impactful, decent logo, what would you say are some top tips that you might be able to offer?
I think some of the best logos that we see are often some of the simplest. I think sometimes people can put too much detail into a logo, too many colours. It becomes quite complicated and quite busy. And what you want to achieve with certainly vehicle graphics, but generally with branding, is that people can look at it in that split second that they're passing and capture the essence of what you want to put across about your business, and whether that is what trade you're in, or the company name, or the logo colours, something that will allow them to to find you. So, for example, we did a van last week for an electrician, it was a grey van and a big green RJ logo on the side. And it was quite a simple logo. It's 2 letters, but they're put together in such a way with such vibrancy of colour that it really grabs your attention and you notice it. And that logo he's got on his website, his social media, it's on his workwear, it's on his business cards. So there's no doubt that if somebody saw that van and looked for the company name on Facebook or on Twitter, they would recognise that logo and they would know that they found the right page. Whereas if you're called Jones's Electricians, or something where there might be 2 or 3 different businesses, it allows you to increase the opportunity for people to recognise you and contact you for work.
So in that same vein, it's about consistency as well. So making sure you've got the same thing across all of those different platforms, across your van, your business cards, your website, literally everything that you do, be consistent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is the essence of good branding, is the consistency and the ease of recognition. Quite often we see people that have had either vehicle graphics designed and a business card and maybe some banners or leaflets, and you look at each design and they almost look like different companies because of the space that they've maybe got up on the screen. Things have been moved about rather than having a consistent look across all those sort of touch points, I think is the professional word for it. But each different part where somebody's going to see your business and have an opportunity to recognise you just need to make those all look the same.
Yeah, and I suppose, the risk that you have is that if you're not recognisable and not consistent across all of them, then people may mistake you for a competitor, and then all that hard work that you've done and all the effort you've made has gone wanting.
That's right. Yeah.
So, we've talked about good points there, and you've got to be consistent, make sure it's eye-catching, keep it simple. Have there been any real, without name dropping anyone, have there been any real sort of horror ones which you've seen where you've gone, oh, we need to sort of rejig this a little bit?
The most common issue seems to be usability in applications. When people have logos designed, Fiverr is a really good example. $5 to have a logo designed, and some of them look okay, some of them are horrific, but it's the file format, and you must see this with the websites as well, and people thinking that they can send you, a tiny pixelated image, and you can somehow press a magic button and it turns it into a high resolution image that you can use. So the biggest issue that we tend to see is appropriate file formats and scalability. And really one of the reasons that I started showing processes and examples of how we print and how we do design work was to try and give some understanding to a customer about the process that we need to go through and how we make the artwork into a vehicle graphic or a sticker or a business card. Because I think as somebody in the print industry, I shouldn't expect somebody who's not involved in print to understand, what goes on. And to be fair, those people don't want to. They want to say to me, here's my logo, please turn it into vehicle graphics.
Yeah.
And so that tends to be the biggest challenge, is getting the right sort of imagery, getting the logo in the correct format and explaining the reasons behind that to people.
So, in terms of image size, it's difficult because lots of people will just look at their phones and go, this looks clear, it looks good.
Yeah.
Whereas if you try and blow that up to the size of the side of a van, then it will look all pixelated, blurred, not particularly great.
Yeah, what I tend to do is if there's any sort of barriers to understanding around that, is what I will do is I'll take the image and I'll print, say, a 30 centimetre square section of the photo, and either take a picture of it or send it to the customer and just say, this is how it's going to look printed, in large scale. And generally speaking, if people do want to put, photos of their own work onto banners or vans or things like that, as most modern phones will take a picture good enough to be blown up to 1.5 meters square, 2 meters square. They don't need to be amazingly high quality. But when people are taking images from the internet or from their website and they are literally tiny thumbnail images expecting to be blown up, that tends to be where there's an issue.
Yeah. Excellent. So, I mean, we've talked about having it on your vans and on your website. In terms of keeping that brand consistent, where else should trades be considering actually using their branding and make the most of it, do you think?
I think the best way to try and think about that is whatever industry or whatever trade you're in, is to sort of think in your head about the customer experience or the customer journey with you. So generally speaking, from the moment you pull up at a customer's house or a business to do a quote, the first thing that they're going to see is your van, the first thing in person that they'll see. So van graphics is one. And then when you get out and you go to them, the next thing is workwear. And although it might be right, it might be wrong, people, that first impression, people will make an assumption about maybe your business or your work from your appearance. So, for example, if you're an electrician and you're going to quote for £5,000 or £6,000 worth of rewiring, and you turn up in an unsigned written, tatty-looking van, and you're in dirty clothes, and you write the quote on the back of a scrap piece of paper, that is a very different customer experience to turning up in not necessarily a new van, but a clean van with nice sign writing, branded workwear. You do the quote on nicely headed quote paper. It leaves the customer with a very different feeling about you as a business, and that translates into their assumption as to how you work.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the thing, is that even though it might be your third quote of the day that you've gone around to see, it is that person's one interaction with you.
Yeah.
And actually, it's worth putting that effort in because that's their only impression of you. Yes. And they want if they're spending, like you say, 5, 6, 7 grand, then actually that's a fair whack of cash that they want to know is going to someone who's professional, who's going to, and they're working in their home. So it needs to be someone that they know they can trust.
Yeah. And as far as most people will tend to work locally to where they live. So there's an element of local brand recognition as well. And again, the Wasp van's a good example. People will see that driving around. People will get to know that as, the Wasp van, and did get to know that. And it won't necessarily be an immediate return on that investment of, paying for the vehicle to be sign written. But what will happen is people will see it on a daily basis or a couple of times a week, and it will sit in their subconscious. They'll see that van, they'll recognise the name. And it might not be that year, but it may be the next season or the summer afterwards when, they open the shed door and there's a wasp's nest, and all of a sudden they've got in their head this company name because they've seen the van around. So it's very difficult to quantify the return on investment for things like branding in general, or vehicle graphics or banners or site boards, unlike more targeted advertising like Facebook adverts or, putting money towards other sorts of advertising. But it's definitely something that helps with recognition and with people getting used to seeing you around and seeing you being busy. So seeing you parked outside neighbours' houses, wondering what work they're having done, and then that may be sparking a conversation with neighbours about other work that they want doing, and helping people recommend you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was all really good points, and that point on returning investment, like it even though you might not necessarily see, I've got my van sign written, and am I suddenly going to get 5 times the amount of work? That doesn't really work like that. It's more presenting that professional image across all of the different ways that you can, and then eventually it will pay back, even if you can't necessarily put it into numbers.
Yeah, I think if you think about it in terms of, so for example, like a heating engineer, for example, if they're at a property doing a boiler service or an install, and after they've finished, their van's parked on the drive, they might leave a site board outside or something to advertise the business. They'll put a sticker on the boiler. When they finish the job, they might then take 5 or 10 minutes to go 5 houses down each side, maybe a couple across the road, and put postcards through the letterboxes. It's all about just giving yourself that better opportunity to get more business. And with a set of postcards, for example, you might pay £25 for 250 postcards that you can pop through the neighbours' doors where you're working. All it takes is to get one breakdown job off there, one service job, and essentially that they've all paid for themselves. But what you have done is you've put your your brand and your name in front of people. They might look at it, tear it up and put it in the bin, and probably 85-90% of things that come through your letterbox, that's what's happens to them. But if they see that and start to see your van around as well, again, it's sitting in their subconscious. It's reminding them that you are there, and it's getting that brand recognition and that local recognition for future work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you guys we've got you on here because you're brand experts. You know exactly what you're doing. So if people wanted to follow up, and if we sparked a light in people's minds and they decided, right, now's the time that we want to jump onto the branding bandwagon, how can people get in touch with you?
All of the social media platforms, so Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just have a look for us on there. There's lots of examples of what we do. There's lots of pictures pretty much every single day, fair few times a day at the moment, of work going through. I'm on LinkedIn as well. There's a few articles on there that I've written about branding and using custom print to grow your business. You can have a look at us on YouTube as well. I've done a few videos and similar interviews to this with Roland about how we use our sort of equipment to help customers grow their businesses as well.
Awesome. And there'll be lots of case studies on the shiny new website coming soon.
There will, yes. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. We've obviously had a good look at the sneak peeks of what you're planning, and it's an exciting time for us because 1st of September we move into our new premises as well. So my plan is to sort of launch the new premises with the new website as well, and obviously make sure the brand's nice and consistent across all of those points as well for us.
Awesome, cool. Alex, thanks very much for coming on to this edition of Trades Toolbox. It's been really appreciated. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Grant.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. That was a really great interview. Thank you so much to Alex for coming on to that edition of Trades Toolbox. Really great tips there. Just remember to be consistent across all of your different branding. That was my favorite tip. Looking forward to seeing you on the next edition of Trades Toolbox, where we'll have another fantastic interview or another great tips from Shake and Speare. Looking forward to it. See you soon.